Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. The US Department of Defense has addressed the halting of air defense interceptor deliveries to Ukraine. The Pentagon's chief spokesperson, Parnell, said the decision is part of what he called a capability review. At the same time, US officials did not specify what kind of weapons they are withholding from Kiev. The news of the decision to suspend deliveries sparked intense speculation about whether Washington wants to abandon Ukraine, just as Russia has ramped up intensity of its attacks in recent weeks.
The Department of Defense continues to provide the president with robust options regarding military aid to Ukraine, consistent with his goal of bringing this tragic war to an end. And at the same time, the department is rigorously examining and adapting its approach towards achieving this objective while also preserving U.S. military readiness and defense priorities that support the president's America First agenda. This capability review, and that's exactly what it is, it's a capability review, is being conducted to ensure U.S. military aid aligns with our defense priorities. And we will not be providing any updates to specific quantities or types of munitions being provided to Ukraine or the timelines associated with these transfers.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has commented on the U.S. decision to withhold munitions used for air defense on Ukraine. The Ukrainian president said the two countries are holding technical-level discussions to clarify all the details related to the deliveries.
Today, the Ukrainian Ministers of Defense and Foreign Affairs discussed matters including relations with the United States. Technical-level discussions between Ukraine and the US are ongoing to clarify all details related to the delivery of defense aid, especially air defense components. One way or another, we must ensure protection for our people.
The announcement that the US administration has halted shipments of critical weapons to Ukraine, including Patriot systems, which are vital for defending against daily airstrikes, has given rise to concerns about the future of Western support for Kiev's war effort. Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Goncharenko joined TVP World to discuss the impact of Washington's latest decision.
It's a very bad news. It's bad from all points of view. First of all, this delay, it sounds like we're speaking now about some delay of the deliveries, but first it will cost lives. So some people who could leave would be killed with Russian missiles and drones because the United States decided to postpone delivery. Secondly, it will definitely embolden Putin. So Putin feels that he can continue aggression, the support to Ukraine is coming down, so why he would end the war? So it's completely opposite to what President Trump announces, that he wants to end the war. But by such steps, he will never end the war, but opposite, the war will be bigger and Russian appetites will grow. So it's a very, very bad decision, not just for Ukraine, but for the whole Europe. Well, we have some systems with which we can work, but Patriots were very important in intercepting of Russian ballistic and supersonic missiles. So it will be very hard, almost impossible, to replace Patriots with anything in this case.
Tensions are rising in Poland over the government's decision to temporarily roll out border checks with Germany and Lithuania. Prime Minister Donald Tusk says the move is, and I quote, necessary to stem the uncontrolled flow of migrants. But some commentators claim that the figures tell a different story and that the government's decision was largely informed by domestic politics.
The scale of migration from Germany to Poland is decreasing, according to the Polish Ministry of Interior. Many of those who are sent back to Poland are not illegal immigrants at all. Some of them are Ukrainians who came to Poland after the Russian full-scale invasion in 2022.
Those who are not admitted to Germany, they can be people who are legally in Poland. They have a Polish visa. By the way, these visas were issued by the previous government in great numbers. They want to go to Germany, but they don't have German visas, so they can't get in.
And the German side says that no asylum seekers who are already in Germany are being sent back to Poland.
I would like to clarify once again, because this has apparently been reported in some media in Poland. There are no repatriations from Germany to Poland of asylum seekers who have already arrived in Germany. There are none, and there will not be any.
But the situation on the border is nonetheless causing a stir.
In my opinion, much more of a domestic political crisis than a migration crisis.
And one of the results of this domestic political crisis is
the presence of the far-right strong-arm groups that are, apparently successful in influencing the government policy.
These citizen patrols are operating illegally.
These initiatives, I'll put it lightly, are a mockery. How can you just stop any car, perform checks? Who gives them the right to do so?
But they receive backing from the politicians of the Polish right.
The impotent state has failed once again. Everyday people have to protect the borders. We will not leave them to fend for themselves. Law and justice politicians will go to the border. We will be supporting the people who are fighting for the safety of our families.
To which authorities have responded by calling it an obstruction of government action.
The more we regain control of our borders, the more we are attacked by Law and Justice, the Confederation Party and their militias. First, they let in hundreds of thousands of migrants from Asia and Africa, cashing in on the visas along the way, and now they are paralyzing the work of the border guard. We will not let that happen.
Apart from calming the tensions on the Polish-German border, Tuesday's decision to reintroduce border checks is supposed to seal the Polish border with Lithuania, now the main trafficking route of illegal migrants from Belarus. The border checks are meant to be dynamic, according to the Polish Ministry of Interior. No permanent border guard stations are to be reinstated. The checks are to begin on Monday next week. Paweł Trzaskowski for TVP World.
The European Commission has, after a delay, presented its updated climate targets, including a 90% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions compared to the levels from the 1990s. While ambitious on paper, member countries and politicians are not too keen to adopt the new policy. Tomasz Włostowski of EU Strategies recently told TVP World that even though the Commission added measures to soften some of the consequences, there won't be much enthusiasm to implement the proposals.
A number of member states and politicians are very scared of this proposal because they understand that there has been a lot of misinformation about climate and climate mitigation, climate change mitigation, and fighting climate change. They understand that further restrictions and further climate protection measures are not popular with the electorate, basically. They understand that. So they're very scared of this proposal. They're scared of how it will be portrayed. A number of big member states, Poland for one reason, as one example, is not very happy about this proposal, which, by the way, is exactly what was issued today. As we know, the Polish presidency just ended 2 days ago, and the reason why this proposal is coming out today is exactly so it didn't come out during the Polish presidency, because Polish government really does not like this proposal.
Serbian police have clashed with anti-government protesters in Belgrade after demonstrators blocked the streets of the capital, demanding the release of people detained during earlier demonstrations. In response to the protest, local authorities not only used riot police, but also halted public transport through the Serbian capital. Protesters began gathering in the streets of Belgrade on Wednesday afternoon, some detained by the Serbian police. Speaking to local media, organizers of the protests said the police officers used brutal methods of detention, even beating the demonstrators. To fend off the riot police, protesters threw chairs and other objects at the officers. While the protest was still ongoing, at 9 p.m. local time, Belgrade authorities suspended public transport in the city without notifying residents. Similar protests took place in other major cities of Serbia, such as Novi Sad, Niš Valjevo and Novi Pazar. People protesting on the Serbian streets demand the release of their fellow protesters and early elections. The Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency is committing 12.2 million euros towards boosting Ukraine's civilian cyber resilience. The activities will be implemented by the Estonian Center for International Development. The funding for cybersecurity is part of Sweden's support for security and stabilization in Ukraine. The funds will be used within the framework of the Tallinn mechanism, which is also supported by Poland, Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom and multiple other EU nations. In 2024 alone, Ukraine was subjected to over 4,300 cyber attacks, with an average of 12 attacks each day, mainly from Russia. According to the Swedish agency, the attacks target civilian infrastructure, which threatens Ukraine's ability to function and to provide basic services to its citizens. The attacks also aim to sabotage, survey and influence popular opinion in Ukraine. Romania's newly appointed Prime Minister Ilie Bolozhan has unveiled his plan to reduce the country's budget deficit. He stressed the urgency of implementing the changes, which include resetting VAT and raising excise taxes on alcohol and fuel.
If we did nothing, or if we extended these measures for a long time, there would be several consequences, including the Romanian state becoming insolvent, which would mean that our creditors, those who lend us money at present and whom we need in the future, because we cannot function otherwise, would no longer be willing to lend us more, and therefore we would not be able to cover state expenses, including salaries and pensions. Access to European funds is contingent on fiscal reform, so we would no longer have access to European funds. We would not be able to continue half of the investments that we have underway today on major highways, on railway lines, in every corner of Romania, which would mean that we would practically run the risk of getting our ratings lowered again and entering so-called junk category, meaning that our country is no longer recommended for investments. And very few foreign investments would come to such a country. We would enter a brutal recession, which would mean job losses, high unemployment, a currency that would depreciate massively, and we simply cannot afford this at the moment. This adjustment is a mix of revenue increases, a mix of expenditure cuts, and a mix of phasing and prioritizing investments. In 3 stages this summer, let's manage to come up with 3 packages that by the end of the summer will complete these measures. We will reset VAT to 2 rates. Today we have 3 rates, 5, 11 and 19%. The 2 rates to which we propose resetting are 11 and 21%. Medicine, food, public services, water and sewage, irrigation water, books, wood and thermal energy will stay at the reduced rate. We propose that the hospitality, restaurant and catering industry remain at the same level. Then there's increasing excise taxes, including a basic increase of 10% proposed for alcoholic beverages and fuel.
Poland's top tennis star Iga Świątek returns to centre court at Wimbledon this Thursday to face off American Katie McNally in the second round. The match will follow the highly anticipated clash between Novak Djokovic and the UK's Daniel Evans. The Świątek match will be played at 2:30 p.m. Central European Time. The pair met once before at the senior level in 2022 in Ostrava, where Świątek came out on top. McNally, currently ranked 208th due to injury setbacks, entered the main draw using a protected ranking. Meanwhile, 3 other Polish players kick off their double campaigns. Jan Zieliński pairs with Czech Adam Pawlasek, Magda Linette joins forces with American counterpart Bernarda Pera, and Katarzyna Peter partners with Egypt's Maya Sherif. And with this, we conclude this edition of TVP World News. Please stay with us for more latest updates and commentary.